Okay, it says we are live. Hey, Dr. Tiff.
Hey, Doc, what's up?
I'm excited to see you again. I've been really enjoying our weekly meetings.
I know it's been fun and just like diving into the science, which is my jam. So it's
It's
really
super
cool.
fun. Super fun. So let's also next time make sure that you can get on your social media as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
cool. So today we had a little bit of a topic from one of our last calls, which was the GLP-1 effects in the body and the hormones. And I thought we should kind of dive in a little bit just for the next 20 minutes into this topic. And because it's such a big buzzword and I'm seeing so much surrounding this. So you and I talked a little bit, and I mentioned the story about my sister, but
Mhm.
I meet with 5 to 6 people a day who have done every weight loss program under the sun. And I'm going to tell you before I go into the science part of it, here's what I'm seeing. Those 5 to 6 people a day are about half of them are using one of the GLP-1 injections, and what they're noticing is they lose weight rapidly, and then when they get off it, it comes back with a vengeance.
Yeah,
And
the
when I ask,
rebound.
yeah, exactly. When I ask them, well, what have you been eating? And many of them say, I don't eat much. So listen, one of the things it's doing is, of course, influencing your brain into thinking that you're full and you're not digesting food. And so I want to really point this out to people is they just had a recent study that came out that a 40% or more of the weight that you're losing with these injections is muscle.
Mm.
40%.
Well, yeah. And I think what they're seeing, or at least what I'm reading, and I'm really wanting to dive more into the science of why, is that because our body isn't absorbing the protein, it's like rejecting the nutrients in some of the foods that are being ingested when on these drugs, and thus obviously the muscle mass is being depleted. I mean, the only other thing that I think is obvious is when you're on these drugs, you're going into massive calorie deficit, right? So no matter if it was any nutrition that's not getting absorbed, if you're not getting enough to fuel your base needs, and you're in a massive deficit, just like we all would experience, right? Any of us that went into a massive calorie deficit, we would start pulling from bone and muscle and emotion regulation, all the other systems. So, I think some of it's the drugs and some of it is just because people are going into significant calorie deficit. I'd be curious at what your thoughts are on that.
Yep, that's exactly it. So because what the drug does is it influences, so it basically allows for less circulation, less blood flow into your intestines. And what that does, it slows digestion. So if food is in there undigested, your brain says, well, we must be full. I mean, I'm just exaggerating this. So therefore you eat less. And so what I literally have heard patients tell me, oh, I go out to dinner, I've lost like 15 pounds. I'm like, what are you eating? I go out to dinner, I order pasta, I have some wine, and they brag about it. I have like 3 bites of pasta and I'm done. I can't eat anymore. And then I drink some wine. So the calorie deficit is important. But like you said, what's really a key thing you said is protein intake isn't really being prioritized. And so, yes, you're burning fat, but there's a certain point where there's a part of our brain, I call it the anti-starvation mechanism, but this is part of the primitive brain, the amygdala, hippocampus, where if you go without food for a period of time, your brain will literally flip over and start actually trying to store fat. And it's doing that because every time you go into calorie deficit over a long period of time, it'll literally start actually storing fat. It's the opposite. Because fat is a better fuel storage than anything. It means long-term survival. So just to understand this from a primitive center, we have animal parts of our brain that are literally trying to get us to survive. So it's to take a drug to trick you into thinking you're literally in a starvation mode is really what's happening. And so, I think you're really big, the lower protein intake. And then people have never, one of my steps and my pillars with working with people, the second step First step is we make sure people learn to turn their fat furnace on. So like we literally turn the fat furnace on with a special formula we do. The second step is we halt dopamine control. So no one's even learning how to actually understand the sugar dopamine response. And so because of it, the calories they are getting are pretty much end up being sugar or pasta or carbohydrates.
Sure. Well, because again, I think people aren't adjusting lifestyle choices. Like they're using this drug to help propel them into weight loss, which I think is a great mechanism and a great advancement of our medication, our medical system, is to give us these opportunities for new ideas and new mechanisms. But we have to change our behaviors. To your point, when you come off of these, unless you want to stay on them perpetually, you still have to learn how to feed your system, how to manage portions, how to control the different macronutrient intake your body needs, how to prioritize protein, how to exercise. Like we've got to have a better support system around these drugs so that people can benefit from them in the right way, at the right times, and the right purpose, because they do serve a purpose, but we're not using them, in my opinion, we're not using them the right way. It's like social media, right? Like social media isn't the issue around socialization and lack of connection, and right? It's how we're using the social media and taking advantage of it and not understanding and educating ourselves on how to implement it effectively.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part of the problem I have. It's not the drug itself. It's that we're not making people accountable to how they're giving it to patients and then how we're managing those patients' use of it.
Well, I love that you said that. Let's actually rewind, because I want to kind of capitalize on something you said, because it's like the drugs isn't the problem. Let's rewind a little bit. For more than 100 years, we, at least in America, health has become a business. And let's say more importantly, illness has become a business. So doctor, the word doctor means, literally translates as teacher. So what doctors were supposed to do is to teach their patients. Teach what? Teach you how your body works. Teach you how your system works. When was the last time, if you're watching this, you went to the doctor and they taught you something? Okay. So here's what I found that our system, our medical system specifically, is teaching people. If you have a symptom, the symptom's the problem. We have a drug to stop the symptom. So let's rewire this teaching. Symptoms are not the cause. They're warning signs. Symptoms are warning signs. They're not the cause. Mm-hmm. So when you look at even fat gain literally is a symptom. It's not a cause. It's an effect. It's a warning sign. So excess fat is a warning sign. So I want to make sure people understand this, because if you have been taught what you have to treat your symptoms, that is a never-ending game that never leads to health. How many millions of people which are taking high blood pressure meds, in the history of taking high blood pressure meds, how many people's blood pressure have been fixed? The answer is none, because it doesn't fix your blood pressure. It was not designed for that. Now, this isn't me saying that's good or bad. There's a time and a place for everything, right? But I want you to understand what game you're playing when you're either addressing the symptoms or addressing the cause. And so a long time ago, when I was 17 and in the military, I decided to play a different game. I realized I was very sick, and every medication I took, I realized I would literally keep getting sick. And I realized, oh my God, I'm not fixing anything. And that's what sent me on the path of, let me look at what's causing the problem.
That's right. That's right. Well, every medication you take has a different side effect. So you can't just keep chasing, to your point, those symptoms. You're inevitably going to create different symptoms. It's like having to have surgery. Sometimes you have to, but when you have that, there's going to be other things for that you're going to end up trying to work around, modify around, address. We can fix this thing, but just be aware that there's going to be other things that you're then going to have to deal with. And so, yeah, I do fault the medical industry with these drugs, that they're not giving more specific. I do think some physicians are making recommendations, but I think we need a much more strategic, systemized support system around people that do want to utilize these medications, even for diabetes management, which is what they were originally created for. Even the people that are taking it for that reason, I still think need a better continuum of care and a better network around them to be able to truly benefit long term from what these medications can do.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, most doctors have not actually had formal nutrition training. First of all, let's just be blunt with it. And so that's an important piece. When looking at there's so many examples I could give, but when you end up, like you said, when you end up treating the symptoms, thinking that you can take a pill and it's going to fix the problem, it's a big issue because it causes other problems. It's no different than I've watched this for years, but if you're driving your car along and your check engine light comes on and you go, dang, my check engine lights come on, and and you keep overriding it, right? That's a symptom. But let's say you brought it to a mechanic and he said, ooh, man, Dr. Tiffany, you got a bad case of check engine-itis. And you go, what is that? Well, your check engine light is inflamed. You go, oh my God, that's terrible. What do I do about it? Well, I've got this little piece of black tape that I just put right over it, and you can fix check engine-itis. Eventually, so just understanding that story, that the check engine light is your symptoms, headaches, fat gain, fatigue. These are symptoms. These are not the cause. And so when you look at it from that angle, the doctor labeling check engine-itis, so people understand this too, diagnosis came from the word agnosis. Agnosis means to guess. Two people guessing. Hey, doc, my elbow hurts. Ooh, you have tennis elbow. It's a complete guess, but it doesn't lead you to the cause. So what I notice is diagnosis means two people guessing about what's going on and not truly looking at the underlying cause. Now, again, this is from someone coming from, I've worked with over 325 patients a week for over 17 years. So I've worked with cancers and all kinds of stuff, not just fat loss, but that's important to understand that is, so if we put that tape over the check engine light, eventually you keep driving with the symptom. And that's what I find the biggest problem is, if you take the pill to stop the symptom, the underlying cause is still there. That's why statistically, the same number of people statistically, percentage-wise, die of heart attack and stroke taking blood pressure medications as the ones that don't. It statistically makes no difference in terms of heart attack and stroke.
That's right. Well, I think when people get a pill, they think that they then don't have to make the changes. Like this is taking place of the changes. Like, okay, cool. Now my blood pressure's in check. Now I don't need to worry about what I'm eating or if I'm moving or if my stress is high or if I'm getting the proper sleep and all the things that have aggravated that to begin with, because the medication becomes the end game. And I agree with you. And then there's just no re-emphasis of, hey, we're giving you this, but like this is not going to fix. It's just tampering the symptom, and you still need to start working on these things. But I do think that, and I've seen it happen with my clients, my family, like, oh, I'm taking medication for that. I'm like, well, yeah, but to your point, like that's not a resolution. That is just to stop anything drastic from happening. We still need to address the root causes of, but I just think that's become like a secondary priority once you have that medication that kind of take place of it. I've seen it a lot. I've had clients, bariatric surgery, any number of these weight loss surgeries, same thing. I'm always so impressed and so enthusiastic to work with people that are like, hey, I'm doing this surgery, but I want to do it the right way. I want to come in, I want to plan. I want you to help me put nutrition in place, get me moving, understanding how to manage that, what after looks like what's the long-term plan, because I know this is just like, I'm just to my wit's end. I just need this. I need to kickstart. I need to do, and I always try to talk them out of it. But if they're hell bent on doing it, it's like, okay, at least you're seeking support around that. And that's what I would just like to see more of, and what I'm hoping that I can be instrumental in with these drugs, because I think they're around. They're going to be here for a while. So I would at least rather be able to provide my expertise and support around them for folks and say, hey, let's walk this together. Let's make sure you're getting the nutrition you need. Make sure you're not losing muscle mass. Make sure you're getting the nutrient the gaps filled with supplementation until your body is in a groove again, and hormones are balanced and all of the things are jiving. But in the meantime, let's not put some other health factors at risk.
Yes, agreed. Let's just face it too, just to back people up. Why are they so popular? Because what has been given to the public does not work. So I am completely fine saying this publicly. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, these companies, I see the result of people doing these programs and what happens.
Yeah.
You cannot starve yourself to healthy. It does not work.
That's right.
And of course, that's why I created the FAST40 over years. I started realizing we actually shift someone's hormones, because without a hormonal change, it's very challenging for the body to actually go back to burning fat. And so it's quite interesting that 80%, the statistic is 80% of people that do a weight loss program in America gain all the way back and more. And so just to be really sort of supportive of people, is what you've been told doesn't work. I'm even watching people do paleo and ketogenic and fasting.
That's right.
And what I find is people give them the phone, they go, Dr. Golman, I love to fast. How much weight have you lost? Well, none, but I'm 30 pounds overweight, but I just love fasting. I'm like, that's not working for you, my friend, unless you do it for some spiritual reason. But
that's right. That's right.
Right. Yeah. It's a whole different thing now, right? There's a right way to do this from how to do it. So yeah, that's just a big piece. This is truly understanding that, if the solutions we've been given, you might remember, Dr. Tiffany, there was a program or a process called HCG.
Oh yeah.
10 years ago, human chronic gonadotropin. I think they were charging between $4,000 to $8,000 for the pure injection.
Putting people on like 500 calories or less.
500 calories, right? And I don't know if you know what ended up happening with this, because I was watching this 10 years ago, which is when I started creating the FAST40. Literally, they proved that it was causing cancer, specifically breast cancer. The HCG injections were causing breast cancer. The FDA banned it. And then once the buzz went away, the FDA stopped the ban, and then people kept doing it. And so just people listening, from my perspective, these GLP-1s this is not a new game. This is the same repeating pattern. If we just have small windows, if you go back 50 years, it's the same repeating pattern. There's something that comes along. Watch what happens in the next 10 years with the research and the results. There's 60 lawsuits per day. That information came from a lawyer. Okay. He said, I'm getting 60 lawsuits filed per day towards just Ozempic alone. Yeah. That's one lawyer. That's
chronic,
one lawyer.
I've heard chronic diarrhea, vomiting, gastrointestinal, gastroparesis, which is paralysis of the stomach. So the muscles just become paralyzed, so nothing's moving through, which we mentioned on a previous live, of just undigested food in the stomach. So I mean, my first choice is certainly that people don't even go down this route unless it's for the original, again, management of blood glucose levels, which I still think can be managed with lifestyle changes inevitably. But, again, like, we have to leverage what we have available to us and just try to make the most of a bad situation. But yeah, I mean, and I think in today, it's just, if you were to search, how do you naturally balance your hormones? How do you manage menopause symptoms? How do you lose body fat? How do you increase metabolism? Every single search that you do for that is going to say the same three things: eat whole food diet, exercise, get good sleep, drink enough water.
Yeah. Yes. And exactly.
All of that is going to naturally get your body positioned to do things the right way. But it's like everybody wants it to be more complicated. Like, oh, it has to be some supplement I have to take, or I need to go in and do some crazy methodology. And it's like, it's not. It's just do the little things. Just do the small.
That's true. Matter of fact, I want to point this out. If you guys watching this haven't seen this, but the medical media mafia, that's what I'm going to call it, because that's what it is. The medical media mafia has hypnotized you into thinking that diet and exercise don't work. How do I know that? Listen to all the drug commercials. Have you listened to them? Watch the first thing they say before they say to try your drug. Diet and exercise don't work. Try Lipitor. When this doesn't work, that's like saying, hey, Dr. Tiff, you're dating someone right now. When that doesn't work, go ahead and give me a call.
Yeah.
It's the same freaking thing.
Everything else. Yeah. No, I mean, it is. And it's not which diet, because they can all be effective. But the problem is, and I know you address this and I address this, is you have to fix the hardware, or none of the software is going to upload. If the hardware is broken, which is your hormone balance, your metabolism, your sleep and stress and mindset, if none of that is optimized, then you can throw fasting at it, you can throw paleo at it, you can throw keto at it, you can throw Whole30 at it, and your body's not going to be responsive. Mm-hmm. So fix the hardware, and then I guarantee you, no matter what diet you choose, as long as you can be consistent with it, it can be effective. But we have to go inside and say what's not functioning, what's not responding. And that could be a result of menopause. It could be a result of yo-yo dieting. It could be a result of genetics. It could be a result of having had babies. Like, any number of things can disrupt the system. But I think then people just start chasing and finding, oh, this isn't working. This diet didn't work for me. This diet. Well, none of them are going to work until you get everything functioning optimally.
Love that. Love that. Love that. And I know we have just a few more minutes. Love that you said that. And I think that was so key, because that's one of the reasons I started this conversation off with understanding that doctor means teacher. Mm. And I want people to understand, is one of my life's missions and goals is I want people to live in their most inspired life. And I found that if you're in a body that's unhealthy, you're not doing it. You're not doing it. That's why I think health truly is the ultimate wealth. And one of the big principles that people have not been taught is that you have an incredible power inside you. You have the most incredible doctor already inside you. You know that you already have doctor visits every multi-second. You're meeting with a doctor every multi-second inside that knows how to take a cheeseburger and turn it into your tissue. I want people to really understand that power is inside, that the same power that built your body is the same power that heals your body. That's truly what I want people to be connected with. And so I love sharing these messages, Doc. And anything else you want to say on this topic?
No, I would just echo what you said about dis-ease. When your body is in dis-ease, right? That's where nothing is communicating, and you feel this disease that you know something is off. And I think that we dismiss that as, again, something bigger than it is, instead of just like resetting the system and saying, like, coming back and just letting everything chill out. And then I think it can approach, whatever goals you have. So
yeah, I've appreciated you on these lives, bringing some of the other side of these topics, like you mentioned, even the GLP-1 receptor injections, like, well, where is it useful, right? Where do we use that, and there's nothing that I want to say, there's nothing that's all good and all bad. That's right. And so there's benefits to everything. I know for me, and it sounds like you too, Doc, is that my passion has been to teach people what's already inside them. And that's my expertise. Right. And so I love expressing that message. And I'm so glad to do that with you here as well. So absolutely. This was awesome.
I know. Well, I always look forward to our weekly chats. So
me too. Same time for everyone watch this, same time next week. And we'll be on we're going to be in both of our platforms here, and we'll have a new topic. So I'm excited.
See you soon.
All right. Bye, Doc.